Hello, hello. Richard Carlton here for another awesome day. I am had to order my new Stream Deck device so I don't have to click around and see myself. We have Nick Hunter here. Nick Hunter, are you there?
I'm here.
I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FMTraining.tv, where we create great FileMaker training. As always, it's kind of that boilerplate stuff for those of you who watch this on a recording. This is being shot live in front of a studio audience that is kind of virtual, including TK55678. If I don't keep him happy, he might shoot me too. Not so good. So if you want to know what the upcoming training schedule is, we are going to have some downtime as we get around Christmas. There is a broadcast through Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Then there's a little bit of a break because we just don't do it every day. And for everyone else, they can show up and drink adult beverages and don't have to worry about it. We actually have to put together a coherent conversation of content, and we need kind of a break from that. But we're here today. Monday, we have Nick Hunter doing global fields, driving relationships. He's got 3 days of that. Ends the day before Christmas Eve, the 23rd. Upcoming schedule for next coming week. Nick will be doing some stuff. Today is a catch-all Friday, a cleanup day. We're doing a lot of general cleanup. We are broadcasting live on YouTube, on Twitch, and Discord simultaneously, so you can pick the broadcast schedule you want, right? I wanted to spend a couple minutes and talk about 2ForU. So 2ForU is one of those companies. There are kind of an interesting set of FileMaker consultancies. Most FileMaker consultancies just do work and collect the money, and that's their idea of a good time. It drives Claris a little bit nuts, but it is capitalism. For those of you who are communists, we'll have to have a separate class about what capitalism is. But most developers just give me the money and off we go. And there are some people in the FileMaker community who actually do a lot of free stuff. We're one of those companies. Another company does a lot of free stuff, but it's kind of complementary and it doesn't compete with us directly, which I kind of like, so we don't run into each other on the free stuff, is 2ForU. This is Hansa, the Czech Republic. And he was actually in here. Yeah, we've done a lot of an unprecedented amount of new technical content for you. Well, it's only unprecedented in so much you don't compare it to RCC. That being said, these guys have done a lot. They've done a lot, and I want to call out them of what they've done. Specifically, Hans is really big on performance testing. I'm going to make fun of him right here with this, but let me come back with this performance testing right here. So he actually put the stopwatch to the new FileMaker server. We talked about it a little bit. He put the stopwatch to the i7 versus the i7 versus the M1 processor running under emulation, right? Once again, I said that, and people are like, oh, it's not running emulation. Bullshit. FileMaker is not. FileMaker Pro, none of the FileMaker products have been tuned for the Apple Silicon process. So they runs through an emulator, which has to translate the x86 Intel code into Apple Silicon code. And so basically he ran a bunch of testing. And what he found out, if you zoom in here on this chart, which is pretty good. I don't know where it went. Where'd it go? So this is a chart of scripting, bunch of finds or whatever. The point is that this is an i7 processor, I think. If I move myself out of the way over here, where did that go? So the M1, I think, is the light blue, I guess. And the dark blue is the i7, I'm guessing. Still the same speed as i7, even a software. They're saying same speed. There's a, I don't know, 10% difference there. 10% is really negligible, considering you more than make up with that with good design, like lean design, right? Looks like the i7 is in the first column and in the second column. Oh, I see what they're doing. Okay. Oh, I see. They compared them all, same test all the way across. Got it. Okay, so you got Mac Pro Windows, Mac Pro Linux. I have no idea what Mac Pro on Linux is. Nick, do you have any idea what that is? Because FileMaker Pro doesn't run natively on Linux unless you hack something up. So it's obviously slower.
Depending on, yeah, that for server, right?
No, it says Pro. Mac Pro. Yeah, server-side scripts. These are server-side scripts. So this is server running.
Okay.
So this is server-side. So this is the i7 on the Mac running FileMaker server. This is a mini M1 running server. So the Mac and the M1 are running really close to the same speed. Then you've got a Mac Pro, whatever flavor that is, and then a pretty decent Windows machine that they think is equivalent running slower. Let's kind of locally do it like. So here's FileMaker Pro. This is the the Pro. So the M1 beats it a little bit, then a little bit faster, probably 5 to 8, 10% faster than the i7. So a little bit faster under emulation. If they actually optimize the code, this would be much faster. So I'd have to ask
No,
about
no, it's about the window on, this is a urban legend that everything is super faster on Windows. So what you
Okay, this is
depending on
coming from a Mac guy, right? So that's fine.
depending what?
Nothing. Nothing. I said nothing.
No. It's depending on which version of Windows you're using this,
Yeah.
Because this is Mac Pro on Windows doesn't say anything. Is it Mac? Is it a Windows Server? Is it Windows normal? Client?
Yeah.
It doesn't. Okay.
My general impression is that you can get a Windows machine that run about the same speed as a Mac doing. And this is doing integer-based work. Once again, understand everyone that this is really important. There's two basically computational things that go on. Is integer-based math, like 2 is 5, stuff like that, right? Then you've got this calculus fractal, like if you've seen fractal graphics that are these self-replicating, it's advanced calculus, floating point math, all this kind of stuff, very advanced stuff. That's where these processors really get up and go. That also is where video goes. Any screen sharing, video compression, any of that kind of stuff, it really benefits from that. Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel for the most part, FileMaker, all just do integer-based stuff. So normally it's the megahertz, the gigahertz that matter, megahertz and gigahertz that matter, not the most amazing level. And remember, FileMaker Pro normally uses 1 core and sometimes 2 cores if you're sorting a portal or something. So normally 24 cores versus 5 cores or 4 cores makes no difference on FileMaker Pro. On FileMaker Server makes more of a difference. So that's what's going on with 24U. They've done a lot of great stuff with this. The other thing in their newsletter I was laughing at, I always gave them grief about this. These guys are always jury-rigging RFID. They're like the RFID experts when it comes to like having like little RFID tags talk to FileMaker and stuff, and doing like these third-party integrations with like, house controls and lighting and stuff like that. And I said, okay. So this is a 1.5 years ago at DEF CON. I go, hey, so I'd like to shoot a video on this, but I need something kind of practical because they're worried about RFID on a metal object that doesn't work well because metal kind of deflects radio waves. And I said, well, how about, here we go. How about we just open a door, unlock a door? So if you like have there's already software for this, but it's like the most common thing is you have your little badge and you go beep and the door unlocks and opens for you or just unlocks for you. And it logs the fact, it checked the database, you have authority to be in that room, it unlocks the server room or the wiring closet or whatever, and you can get in there or into the front of the building, right? And these guys are like, oh yeah, we don't have anything that'll unlock a door. And I'm like, what? So they have a lot of esoteric, interesting stuff, helping farmers in Africa, grow crops and stuff like that. But for like most of North America, you have to have kind of an unusual RFID thing, and then they have it solved. If you want to open a door, you're screwed. You can't do it. So they were like, yeah, we might be able to do that, but you'll have to write us a check for like a bunch of money, and then we'll go build it for you. I'm like, if you're trying to control things with FileMaker and external controls, unlocking a door seems like the #1 thing, right? Anyway, so then there was this other thing that came out. There was a conversation about downloading examples and how to generate PDFs dynamically, things like that. So they have some other samples in here. They've created a lot of great content here. And then, of course, they have another one of those automated things. We're going to control Christmas lights with FileMaker with Raspberry Pi. How about a door unlock, right? So, pow. Amico has a question for you, Nick, on Discord. Do you want to take a swing at that?
So the question is interesting, and that's the same problem for many other solutions that we give for free, and even FM Starting Point, the same problem. Those solutions have they have a kind of a foundation that needs to be there in order to, let's say, to initiate the pump. You need to load the pump, and then you can do whatever. So when you clone something, that means you have nothing. You have no record whatsoever.
I have to interrupt. You have to. Not everyone can read the question. So can we read the question and then address it? So I'll read the question. It's a quick question.
Okay.
He says, in FileMaker Launchpad, which is Nick's sample solution, When I make a copy clone with no records, I am not able to log in and use the log into the system and use it, right? And so Nick's kind of going a roundabout way of saying that when you make a when you ship a product, even ship a FileMaker solution to someone, frequently we use preference records. In Starting Point, there's a preference table with a preference record in there. Without even knowing Nick, looking at Nick's thing, I can tell you that there's probably at least one preference table in there, if not more than one. And that preference table has to have a record in it, probably with some data in it, that is pre-set up to allow the system to work. And if you clone and rip every record out of it, then a lot of the base functionality quits working. So when you clone Starting Point, for example, you lose that preference record in our preferences table. The thing is really broke, right? So was that where you're going? Go ahead and finish that thought process.
Yeah, no, you're completely right, totally right. That's the point. I have I call system, I don't call preference, I call system, because preference in my system is a user related, you know. So when you launch this solution, you have the solution is waiting for things to happen. First of all, if you go to the table here, you can see that login, I need to have at least one record. There's 3 records, but doesn't make any. Okay, you should have at least one. That's 3. I don't know why. It's a mistake. Okay, but see, for example, in the global table, I have 1 record here. Okay, and then I need to have at least 1 record in the system. See, I have 1 record here. I have 1 record here. Login should have 1 record, but it has 3. It doesn't make any difference, but it should have at least 1. You see what I mean? So it expects to have records. Okay, the system needs to have so those globals here, you need to have and because I'm loading the globals, and I'm globals, I mean global variable. I'm loading the global variable as at login. You know, when you sign in, when you click the button sign in. Okay, so you go, and I have plenty of stuff happening based on the relationship. So the relationship works because I'm setting up some globals. So you set up with globals with data like this, right? You set up, oh, I need this, and then I need those 2. I need this to be 0. I need this to be 1. So you set up all your global. You need to initiate, you know, the system, initialize the system. So you initialize the system, and then you can use it, right? So it's like this. It's like when you boot a computer, when you restart a computer, you need to install this. That's why you have the progress bar at the beginning, you know, because you need to load some components, and then you can use the system. So pretty much when you clone the system, when you clone my stuff, it's like you open you launch the system without extension, you know, without anything, right? So that's why you cannot clone my file, unfortunately. But it should be ready to go when you download it. You need at least some users. You can delete users if you want. I put those users here just for example, but you need at least an admin user. You know, you need this is the admin, you know, administrator. You need that guy at least. You need the admin user. Otherwise, you cannot work. You cannot log in. Yesterday, some people asked me, "Oh, we want to know about your tricks." Remember, yesterday I had to fix something that I had a bug in something, and I had to fix it. And I want to share with you what I've done very quick. The problem was when you have this, you have a get as dates, and you say you want the 02, you know, so February 29, 2020. And that returns, so that returns this. This is okay, right? But if you say this 2/29, 2021, it returned this because there's no 29 days in February in 2021. So in 2020, you are 29 days in February. You know the problem on February, right?
Yeah. It's
okay.
Every 4 years you have a leap year.
So. Yeah, every 4 years. Okay. So in order to know that, in order to calculate, to be sure that when you have 29 days, you know what you do to detect which day you have in February, you position yourself on March 1st, and you subscribe one. So you position, you say get as date the March 1st, that hard coded, you hard code the date, and then you subscribe, you get the date you want. You get the date you want in February, but the year you want, but you position yourself on March 1st. Because if you say 20, 21, you will say, see, 21, 22, 23, 24, 29 days, right? So see, it changed this, because I'm saying, okay, go on March and subscribe one, and FileMaker calendaring system, the FileMaker date system will automatically return the February. So that's what I missed to put in my calculation, and it was returning a question mark, because there's no 29 days,
So real quick, I'm going to pivot to a conversation here that came up that reminded me of this, some of the things that happen here. So what's going on is that the Claris did a release on version 19.2, and that came out this week, and it's not optimized code for the application. So if I go over here, I'm just going to minimize this real quick. Yeah, so what they did is they took the code, they fixed the bugs in Big Sur. It's not optimized for the Apple Silicon yet, so it's not really any faster, but some of those obnoxious bug issues have been resolved. They also have a new updated server that my server guy has been wrestling with. And so my general caution to you, I had a conversation with him on the phone as I was driving in here to get into this broadcast, is that if you're on server 19.0, and everything's running great, generally you just want to leave it alone. If you're on 19.1, 19.1 is an interesting release because it's a 1.0 of some interesting code changes they made to the product. And so even though it's called 19.1, it's a 1.0 on some stuff that they're rolling out. So our general recommendation is to run the update. Now, if all you're doing is ProGar or WebDirect, and that's it, then you can run the update. It'll generally work pretty good. You won't have any problems. If you're running PHP, Data API, other weird stuff not weird stuff, but ODBC drivers, things like that, you should expect for some things to break. And now Claris has fixed some things, but then other issues have come out. Like, for example, they started pulling PHP out of the product. So if you have a PHP page that's running on FileMaker Server, you have to kind of reinstall PHP and kind of reconstruct things and it'll work if you manually put it together. And so they've actually, they said they were deprecating the PHP a while back, and they're taking steps to deprecate it. It's in our video training, our paid video training, where we talk about taking the PHP page, putting a wrapper around it so you can use it with the FileMaker Data API. And so Jacob Taylor, who's our server guy, has been busily hammering through some of these updates. And of course, we had a bunch of people decide at the end of the year that they want to do an update over Christmas, and he's not working over Christmas. So yeah, a lot of projects waited to the last second. Now they're not going to happen until next year. But very important question about that. Yeah, Moki's saying the plugins got messed up in the server 19.1 for him. I have not heard about 19.2 plugins at all. Server plugins, but basically there's a lot of bug fixes at the 19.2, and they're starting to optimize some of the code. There's always a pretty long list of the bugs and stuff in here. It would take us hours to go through all that, but just suffice to say that if you get to a happy place, everything's running good, leave it alone. If you're on anything before 18, I would say just plan on running an update and getting some help to do it, right? We're working on bringing Jacob back after the first of the year, having a conversation about updating the latest updates, things like that. So that's good. Cool. So Nick, I will be back there.
Yep.
Put my headset back on.
Yeah,
I have a hard time hearing myself, so I take it off.
Yeah, Miss Net Lobster says, isn't easier to put the date as a 0? That means you put a free, like I put on my screen here, you put a free 0 and 21. It returns the last day of February. Yes, it's true, but not everywhere. And in that case, for example, here it won't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
The way I would solve it, the way I've solved this before, different than Nick, is I would do a year, use the year function, and then get the current year plus one is what I would do. So when you build this calculation right here, you put 229 slash,
Yeah,
and then you,
exactly. Yeah,
and then
exactly.
you run the year function. You get the year, the current year, and then plus one,
Yeah.
and then it does the 1 year add-on for you.
Yeah, I didn't want to make my stuff too, I want to keep it like simple. So but you're right. You do this and you say this, and then you say add and say get.
It's the
year. No, it's year.
It's year. They get current date.
Current date. Okay.
Plus
so
one. Plus one.
Yeah.
Plus one. Yeah. And then
plus one. Yeah.
Right outside that, and then that's the way I would have written it, because it adds a year to it, and it takes care of the math. Actually, having it go forward and backwards. Okay, I know your code is less characters, but mentally, this one is easier for me to wrap my head around. The other one is like kind of this like, hey, it's like parallel parking. When you parallel park a car, you go past a spot, then you turn the wheel and you back in, right? So.
Yeah, I understand, but that won't give you the dates. How many? One. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1. Get dates. This. See, it doesn't give you the date or.
You're not balanced. You're not balanced. You got to balance your. Yeah, you need one more parenthesis on the right side. Yeah.
Here.
More. Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, not. Yeah. Right there. You need a parenthesis.
Okay. Yeah. So, but that if I say plus one.
Okay. Now, put plus one. Then you're going to get the. Yeah. Now put. Instead of the get current date. Well, yeah. You'd have to put the current. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to. No. It's that. But you need to say -1 to get to the last day. Because you put yourself on the 1st of March and then you subtract 1, and depending on the year, that's what I want to do. Depending on the year, here.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just trying to add a 1 year to it. You're trying to get you're trying to get to the last day of that month, which is a moving. Got it.
Position yourself on the 3rd, just to take which one it is. Yeah.
Got it. The last day of the month. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. And the problem is the zero. The zero doesn't work everywhere, and I had problem with this zero technique, and which was kind of a hack left over by FileMaker, right? So this is the best technique to do. Look, this is how I'm doing it.
No, that's fine. I didn't understand that what you're trying to do. I thought you're trying to add a year to it.
I try to detect if this is a year. The year you have is February is the 29 or 28.
Cool. Yeah.
About the server, nowadays when you update, when you do any kind of updates, you need to be careful what you do, because now we have so many interaction between a FileMaker and other software. Like for example, we have Java. So you don't know if something is broken between your JavaScripts and your FileMaker. That can happen. And so here what I had before, what I had the problem I had with this Big Sur stuff is people using Acrobat in their machines. That was a nightmare, and everyone that upgraded with Big Sur, with Acrobat and FileMaker, they got FileMaker to crash every 5 minutes. So it's not because of Apple. It's not because of FileMaker. It's not because of Apple. It's because of the trio, the triple. Let's say FileMaker, Big Sur, and Acrobat, and this doesn't work. So make sure when you update if you update the system, make sure that everything there behind will work, right? And so as you can see here, I'm still in Catalina. I cannot afford I'm still in Catalina. I can't afford to be in Big Sur. I can't afford it, because if I'm switching Big Sur, I'm pretty sure I cannot open 16. I cannot put 617 because I have a soft solution that works on a different kind of level, right? And so I cannot cut myself with this. So that's something you need to know. When you install Big Sur, kiss goodbye to 16, 17, 18, you kiss goodbye all those, right? So So you need to be careful on this. Okay. And another thing that happened to me too, that happened yesterday, we updated the server of our clients to 19.2, right? And that broke their connection with their website, right? So because we have an endpoint and we have a connector between the website, their website, and FileMaker, and that broke the thing. And even Jacob didn't know about this. He didn't realize that for a very simple thing, for example, when you install the new FileMaker Server 19.2, FileMaker Server install a new version of PHP on top, and we replace the one you have. That new in 19.2. 19.2 needs a certain version of PHP, and it crush, the version of PHP you have. Doing this, now the new PHP version of that FileMaker install is now case sensitive in many things. That you have things that were in uppercase before, that was perfectly fine. Like for example, he was calling kind of a function in his what's the name, PHP code with FMP like a capital, and that broke everything because the new version of PHP didn't allow capital letters there, right? So doing things very small, sometimes you don't know which incident you will have behind it. So be careful when you update. You need to be very, very careful now.
All righty. So
do you agree, Richard, or
no? Well, I was talking about that earlier, right? So the issue is that it's broad. The guy Nick is talking about something that personally bit him with a customer. The short version is that when you build a server, you put a server, upgrade a server, you have to have a rollback plan. So you have to image the server in advance. So if it really goes badly, you can roll back on that. That's one thing. I talk about that frequently. It's like you have to have a rollback plan on your server, and then you have to have a plan to test everything. And then you have to prepare your customer, your end user, that I'm going to speak frankly here, but it's going to break, okay? And it should break. In an ideal world, nothing ever goes wrong, and we're all, there are no bad guys in the world. Everyone's, sunshine, smiles, and happy dreams. But the problem is there are bad things in the world. There is bugs in code. There are negative things that are not great, and you need to be prepared for that, right? And so, so it's very important that you think about that when you're going to do a server update. I will just share a story. I had an former engineer, hadn't worked here in a couple of years. There was some issues with that. He's off doing his own thing, and one of his customers, not our customer, his customer calls us and is all upset because that engineer, who hasn't been here for several years, decided to do a server update without having a rollback plan, and it destroyed their stuff. And I'm like, okay, he's not here, maybe for a reason. Hello. And if I have a really great engineer, they generally don't want to go anywhere, and I generally try to retain them, right? So and so they're like, well, it's gone, and we don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, that would be the guy who did the update and didn't have a rollback plan. So there needs to be a rollback plan, and then you need to have. And the other thing is that when you do a rollout, the next day is never a holiday or weekend, and the next day is never you going on vacation. A lot of people, this is a very important tip. A lot of people like, I'm going on vacation to Yosemite, or we'll go to New Zealand and visit the people there, whatever, right? Or maybe they don't like me because, whatever. So that's fine. So you're going to go visit some place. And so right before you're going to ship out, so we're flying out on Wednesday and Tuesday, but then everyone says, well, before you leave, you've got to ship this thing, right? No, you don't. Because if you ship it and you go on vacation, you'll come back, there's an even money chance you'll be fired. Because what will happen is that people get really mad that you went on even if your vacation was scheduled 2 years in advance, you rolled out a product, there were bugs in it, which we expect there to bugs, and you weren't there to take care of them. Never agree to ship a product or major update release right before a holiday, like it's the Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, and then next day everyone's off, but the database still needs to be running. You need to do it. We would used to do them, only do updates when I was doing this for one company years ago, only on Tuesdays, because Monday was a lot of chance to get caught up from the weekend, do the update on Tuesday. Then that gave you Wednesday and Thursday, Friday to fix everything that was broke. I'm telling you that what I've just told you is written in blood, right? It's an important lesson to learn. And if you don't learn it, you're going to find out personally that Richard was right. And then when you do, just send me a little note saying, yes, Richard, you were right. So, so questions on that? Yeah, last year on a job, right? So that's the thing. And people will pressure you. Oh, can we do this before you go? They're not smart enough. They don't have the experience to know what they're asking for is, can I pour gasoline on myself and then smoke at the same time, right? That's what they're saying. Yeah, pour gasoline on myself and then I'm going to smoke. They don't connect the danger there, right? So when they say, can you give it to us before you leave for 2 weeks on vacation, right? They have no idea what they're asking for. You have to be the adult in the room to say no. Okay, you as an IT person, you have to be the professional. And if you have to explain this to them, find a way of an analogy or explainer. As I say, Richard said so, blame Richard, right? So, all right. So Nick, are you there? Yep. All right,
yeah,
cool.
I'm here. That's another thing that I'm saying to many of my customers, that something we say in the pinball world is that never fix something that works. So that means if it works, it works. Don't touch it. Unless you need to do something, right?
Yeah.
It's very important. I mean, I'm talking about on the server side.
No, I agree. I agree. But then you have a server that runs really religiously well, and then I got people who are using FileMaker Server 13 right now, and they're like, well, it's always worked great, and so I've never updated it. And they're so far behind, and the upgrade is so great that the effort level. I just shot a video that's getting edited. That's actually a legit production video, and so generally don't break it if it's working great. But understand that you're every time there's an update and you don't run an update, there's a little bit of technical debt, because eventually you're not going to have a computer or an operating system that you can buy. Like I had a guy come to me and goes, yeah, literally this is in the last 2 months, 6 weeks ago. He goes, yeah, Richard, can we hire you? And I'm like, dude, I pay me money, I love it. Just pay us money, we'll do some work for you. He goes, well, we have FileMaker 4 or 5. He was trying to find a FileMaker 4 or 5. And we cannot go online anymore to the internet to buy computers that run that old of software or that old of hardware. And so literally they were buying computers to preserve how things were in 1994, 95. And I'm like, so that's 25-year-old hardware. Yeah, eventually you're going to have a problem. So there's this technical debt. So there's 2 rules, and they're like, opposite rules. Don't break it. If it's working great, don't break it. But don't be a dumb and never update, right? Those are two.
Look. This is what I'm saying to many people. Don't go into the extreme, right? When you go, and exactly what you said. You're right. Between updating every 5 minutes because Claris has an update and Windows has an update and FileMaker has an update, and doing this every 5 minutes or never do for 15 years, both are extreme. You need to find out, first of all, you need to discuss with your administrator, because this is a one-to-one kind of discussion you need to have, because everybody is not using the same way and everybody doesn't have the same needs. After that, you have big, when I was working for the city of Montreal, for example, you can update your server like this because you decided, no, you need to call the IT department and let them know that you're going to upgrade it, and let them know when you're doing. It's and as you said, and they want the rollback plan.
Rollback.
Yeah,
rollback.
Yeah. And most of the time, what we do, we upgrade in a new virtual machine. We open a new virtual machine. We install everything in a new virtual machine, and then we send back the file. We test for 2 days. Okay, it's okay, it's fine, and then we keep the old machine as That for the extreme people, that is when you really want to have a net of security 100%. But as you said, you don't upgrade every 5 minutes, or you don't keep your stuff for 15 years on the Mac Plus, and then you want to upgrade to M1, right? No, it doesn't work. Yeah.
All right, so Aman asked a question.
Yeah.
And he says, is FileMaker suitable for extremely large projects? And a second ago he said with millions of records, and then he removed that part of it. I'm not sure if that's relevant or not. So can I reference everyone who has a question about the million, or can you use large projects with FileMaker? So I've already answered this topic, but to really bang it out and do it really well took several hours to do it. Oh, now it wants to run an update on me, and the wrong update, so go away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the course. I'm going to go to search, or I can go to live streams or whatever. I'm going to put in replication. See if I can get the hit on that. Here we go. So this is the video player. It's a free video player that you can have. Whether you buy the training or not, some things in here are free, like all our live streams. So we did a week of live streams on this topic specifically for, yeah, I mean, listen, so okay, so the answer is yes. But you're asking, where does FileMaker, I guess the question, okay, so let me answer. So Mon says, can I have a big project with millions of records? Yes. I answered your question. But you probably want more information, right? So let me answer that. The question is, where does FileMaker start to fall down? If you use lean design and you follow what we say here and you follow the training that you see right here on the window, right over here, and you pay for that training, then FileMaker will start to fall down if you buy a beefy server, somewhere between probably 300 and 500 users per simultaneous users per server. It will start to fall down. It's not the number of records, it's the design and the number of simultaneous users. And so to support 2,000 or 3,000 people at the same time, you have to replicate your servers. How do you do that? You have to use this technology. We spent, it was in July, we did this broadcast. This broadcast kicked ass. It's the most technically advanced. We did enterprise like Claris has never done enterprise before. Claris goes around and they keep putting in, and I talked about this in the webinar. Claris keeps saying, oh yeah, we're the enterprise software department of Apple. Except that they've never done anything this big before, I'm pretty sure. Because if they did, they'd talk about it, right? So we replicated. If you go to the broadcast, you can watch this. And this is on YouTube and stuff like that. And each one of these is about an hour. And what ends up happening, I'm going to mute it real quick. But we talk about the idea of setting up the server. We talked about the fact that Claris keeps saying right here that they're an enterprise company and this type of thing. And so we actually set up a server where it actually replicated. There were servers on the East Coast of the United States, West Coast of the United States, Europe, Australia, and Mumbai, India. And they all had the same database. And if you put a record into one, it would replicate it around the world within seconds. I still have this setup running. Instead of having it 5 servers that were ginormous servers, I have 3 kind of low-cost servers. It's US, East, West, and Europe to still run this demo. But this is how you scale FileMaker. So you can see it right here. And if you watch it, as we animate the graphics and show all this kind of stuff and how it works. And Jesse Barnum from 360 Works spent time with us there. I know that people bought the product because of this, because they needed this. So if you have people in different continents, geographical regions, you want the closest FileMaker server. And if you have a lot of people, what ends up happening is that these servers also back up for each other kind of automatically. So if a server goes offline, it crashes, the other servers take up the load. It's really cool. It's all covered in this course right here. So Ahmad, there you go. That's your answer to that.
There's something else I want to say about this replication server and the enterprise level and how big the system should be. Do you guys think that on Salesforce, for example, you do this, you scale your system to the infinite just by clicking a box? No. Every single system has the same impediment and the same problems, because we are talking about the geographic problems, we are talking about a technical problem, and we are talking about physics problem. You know, the pure physics. You can you know, like I said, you can violate the law, right? So this is not just a FileMaker problem. This is the standard of the industry problem. Okay, so it's the industry problem. It's not just a FileMaker. So the first thing, but the thing we talk about with the 360works plugin, this works very well. It's a really well-tuned machine, and they did a great work. 360, they did a great work there. Okay,
so this is the graphic for those of you who want to see it real quick. This is the video right here. and you can hear me talking about it or whatever. But basically is that we actually had this server set up where you have groups of people using each FileMaker server, and the FileMaker servers are replicating the data. This video actually animates at some point. I'm not sure where it animates at or where it does that, but it's probably right here if I play it and I minimize it. But it's pretty slick, and so that's how far you can scale. It's pretty, yeah, it was a pretty good live stream, and that's once again the guys at 360 Works. So here it is right here. You can see this animating. So the servers are, every time you make an edit to one server, it pushes that edit all the way to the other servers, right?
Yeah.
And
to be honest with you, I worked many years on the system based in on the Oracle system, and this system like this, you need to wait until the next day to get the data from the other server. They have kind of a time, like say, oh yeah, we get updated at 2 a.m. So that means they were talking to the customers. Say, okay, oh yeah, I don't have the data yet. I need to wait until tomorrow to get the data from another country. When this system is instant.
Yeah,
it
was pretty
close.
Yeah, this is pretty neat stuff. So that's covered in our live stream. Most all of you have this video player. I can post the link to the video player. So once again, if you look at the video player, you go back over here, you go to the courses, you see daily live streams. There we go. So yeah, so these are the free ones up here. Then everything else below here, you have to have a subscription to get. So anyway, but this video is in the free live stream. So just do a search for replication, and you'll get these. Pretty cool. So, all right. Other questions, people. Other questions. Do we have any other questions? We're kind of coming up.
Yeah, that's one question I want to reply. As Amanco on Discord said, FM Launchpad system value list. How can you use a particular value list entity items in a different field in a solution, not just in assets? So all the question about the value list will be answered next week, because next week I'm going to tell all about value list. Next week will be all about this. It will be. I'm going to start very low, like for 5 minutes, talk about value list, what they are, etc. But normally you should know what a value list is to understand next week webinar, right? But I'm going to answer all of those questions, Aramco next week. So stay tuned next week. Then there's another question from Agent Chevy. Agent Chevy says on Launchpad, he has difficulty pretty much to add navigations, and what's the name? Amanco said that's a problem. I have a bug here. I noticed that's a bug in my product. Unfortunately, I don't have the free time to do it. I'm going to take the Christmas break, and I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to fix that issue. I have a little bug here, and I need to address it. Notice something, not something about FM Launchpad. FM Launchpad works very much better when shared on the server. If you take Launchpad the way it is and you share it immediately, you will see that you will have much less problems than if you have local, because this file is a subset of something that was existing, a real solution, and everything was meant to be working on the server. So if you are experiencing problems like this, share the file on the server.
Now we go to
share the file on the server. Yeah, we always recommend that, because most people that we talk to are putting money and investment into FileMaker Solutions, but for their team, so there's a collaborative benefit for the team.
Yeah, and anyway, you never build anything locally. You never build locally and then you send to the server. You never do that. You will have a lot of problem when you do that. Jack Shield, I have an interesting question. Random problem I am having. Is that the reason my sub-summary part is showing up when the layout is unsorted? I never saw that in my entire life.
No.
Did you want to, I was...
Are you sure?
Okay, but back up. But Jake Shealy just came to us saying, oh, yeah, I'm using FileMaker 17 on Big Sur, and it doesn't have any problems. He said that about 10 minutes ago. So I just so you know. It's like, hey, I have a perfectly great house. It's awesome and
Yeah,
it's modern,
but
but my horses are out front for my buggy.
Yeah, but the devil is hidden. Okay, you know what we said? The devil is hidden in details. Yeah, you can open in 17, click a button, create a new record. That works fine. But then, if you have a script that calls this perform script on server, and the return is empty, and then you call a variable that refer to that as is empty, and then on Big Sur, bam, you crash, and you don't know that. You know what I mean? So it's having a stamp to say, oh, FileMaker 17 is Big Sur approved. You need much more than just open it.
Yeah, no, you have a lot of luck. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that's the problem. I just, yeah, listen, to be bad, but I have to do training in the current release of FileMaker. I'm still installing 19 on some machines because I haven't put 19 everywhere. I think this is still 18 over here because. Yeah, but you know, at some point you have to update all that, especially if there's something amazing with it. I mean, if there's something really amazing that I've got to have, but when 19, I mean, remember when 18 came out, it was like, oh, you have to reinstall it. Yeah. So yeah. So
my perspective, no, I'm not using 19 for my everyday development. For one reason, for two reasons. The script workspace is broken, but that's for the first reason. And second reason is the relationship map is way too slow. And then I don't know what they did in the rendering of the layout, but when you switch from browse mode to layout mode, there's this weird refreshing state which is super slow that I don't have in 18. So they still have issues with 19, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, we got to try the new one, the 19.2 one. That one does.
Yeah, I tried, and it does the same thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? All right, cool. All right, well, that's Friday, everyone. It's a wrap. We'll catch you next week.
And the guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.